Why does Marvel keep putting words of truth into the mouths of their villains?
Spirit Life!
Hey Spirit Life, it's Bruce Wham. I'm here for episode 4 of Moon Knight. If you've already watched the series up to this point, I'm assuming you're going to watch episode 4, but I will give a warning. It's really gory. I felt like this episode really increased the creepiness level more than the others, and I felt like the gore and the blood and the grossness was on high alert. For me, anyway. Now listen, I'll give a disclaimer and say maybe I'm more sensitive than the average viewer, but I don't see that as a bad thing. Oftentimes people will say, oh, you're too sensitive, that stuff doesn't bother me. But I think it should. I think gore and violence is supposed to bother us. I think that if someone claims not to be bothered by gore and things like that, it's only because they've been desensitized to it. I, as a rule, just do not watch zombie films of any kind, and if something's gory, if it's bloody and nasty, there's body parts or whatever, I'm just not into that. And I don't think other people should be into that either. This episode kind of portrays a lot of that kind of stuff. So I did finish the whole episode, but it was hard for me, and I see that as a good thing. Thank the Lord that I'm not desensitized to people being injured and hurt. There was some sort of a zombie, mummy, weirdo, monster guy running around, capturing people and harvesting their organs while they were still alive. That's gross. That's weird and bad. And I don't think we should have a macabre fascination with that kind of thing. Like, ooh, that's a weird concept, that's cool, or I want to see what happens next. I'm repulsed by that. That being said, if you choose to watch the episode, it doesn't last for very long, but it is creepy and definitely not suitable for kids. So I don't know if you watch this as a family, I don't know if you watch the show, with younger kids, but this might be the episode to skip. It really is just not appropriate. Probably for anybody, really, truly, that's my opinion. You come here to hear my opinion, I hear your opinions in the comments below. Let me know, am I overboard? Did you watch the episode and you thought, no big deal. I'm open to hear your opinion in the comments section below. But like I said, in general, I don't think that, especially Christians, should be desensitized to violence and gore. And I talked about that in my review for Run, Hide, Fight, if you want to check that out. I go into a little more detail on why I think that we shouldn't entertain ourselves with that kind of stuff. If you haven't already subscribed, I'm really thankful for each and every person who hits that button, and I don't take that for granted. So thank you for those who've chosen to join the Spirit Life family. And again, I love the conversation, I love the discussion. One of my subscribers pointed out recently in the comments section that Marvel has a knack for giving their villains a biblical worldview, but then because they're a villain and they do evil things, it allows an audience to easily reject that worldview. I'll give you a very basic example from Disney. Remember Beauty and the Beast, how Gaston was this kind of a chauvinist pig? Nobody likes him, he's a brute, he has no real concern for other people, he's selfish and prideful and arrogant. But he desires to settle down and live a happy family life with Belle. That's a biblical value. Getting married, having a stay-at-home mom in the house, that's a biblical thing. Nothing wrong with women working if they want to or feel called to, of course, but we've kind of moved away in today's modern American society from that traditional value where, women make a home and raise children. That's a very noble thing to do. But because Gaston is the one who's saying it, and because he's a villain, it's easy to reject that type of lifestyle in favor of what Belle considers, this more adventuresome lifestyle, and she ends up falling in love with a beast. That's kind of weird if you really think about it. Oftentimes, Disney in general will paint a picture of the father figure being this dolt, like an idiot, the way he is in Aladdin. Jasmine's father is just kind of a bumbling idiot, and he's not to be really valued even though he's the king. Same thing for Little Mermaid. You see where Ariel rebels against her father, and the father's been shown to be this overbearing type, and he should be rebelled against, and give the girl freedom. She's only 16, but give her freedom. So Disney has a knack of painting these beautiful colors and making this idyllic scenery and making a really pleasant movie with the music and the scenery, but their values that they're portraying are not necessarily biblical. And in fact, the people who hold the biblical type values are oftentimes portrayed as the villain. Marvel, maybe it's because they're owned by Disney, has done a very similar thing. Oftentimes, a villain will portray a biblical ideal, not every time, but many times they will say something that's got truth behind it, but because they're a villain, the audience feels easier to dismiss that value. One thing Arthur Harrow said that's not biblical is, "I can't save somebody who won't save themselves." Now, this is a very unbiblical idea, although it's oftentimes repeated by Christians. God won't help somebody that won't help themselves. That cannot be true, because in reality, we human beings have nothing of value to offer God. Now, He likes us. He loves us. He values us because He created us, because He's good. And He sees value where there really is none, because we have nothing good within our own selves. Now, God made mankind good originally, but we've sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. So we actually don't have any ability to save ourselves or to help ourselves. We need God's help 100%. We fully have to rely on Him. So this old adage that you might have heard even in a church, God won't help those who won't help themselves, or God can't help those who can't help themselves, that's not really a biblical concept. We're supposed to fully lean into and rely on the Lord, and only He can give us the help that we need. The mentality behind this phrase is that we need to make effort towards our relationship with God, and that part is true. God says, "Draw near to me and I'll draw near unto you," and so He wants us to be active participants in our relationship with Him. We're not supposed to just sit back and, have Him love us and not reciprocate. So we do want a relationship with God, but we don't have any power of our own to save ourselves. It's not like God's waiting for us to save ourselves, then He'll save us too. That makes no sense. Now, what also makes no sense is Arthur Harrow, the villain, saying that he can't save Marc Spector. Was he going to save him anyway? Did he actually intend to help him? Was he genuinely concerned for him because he too was once the avatar of Khonshu and he understands the trauma that he might have gone through? I don't know. This guy is hard to read. On the one hand, he seems to really care for certain people, but on the other hand, he seems pretty ruthless and uncaring when it comes to people being judged or killed. So, which is it? This is a confusing character, and I think that's what makes him interesting. But he did say something that is true. Remember the old Sting and the Police song? We are spirits in the material world. Pardon my singing, I've got a sore throat, and waking up at 3 a.m. does me no favors when it comes to this kind of thing. But I normally can sing okay. Take my word for it. Anyway, the song, We Are Spirits in the Material World, he actually makes that comment, but when he does so, it's as if he's in the position of the counselor in this insane asylum. It's a really weird thing. Is this the afterlife? Is Marc Spector in some sort of alternate reality? Is Khonshu going to rescue him? Is his third personality that we've yet to meet hidden in one of those sarcophaguses? Well, I'm sure the next couple of episodes are going to wrap all that up because the show only has 2 more episodes. But in the meantime, let's just end with this concept that we are actually spirits in the material world. Truly, we are, biblically speaking, spiritual beings. Now, we're not just spirits trapped in a human body. We're not just spirits that are somehow, contained in a human body. We are a human body. We are a spirit. We're both. And the Lord made us to be physical creatures. But the physical world around us is really just a shadow of the spiritual reality. This is all through the Bible. I mean, we are spirits first, and then physical creatures second. The reason is because God is a spirit. And the thing that's eternal about a person is their spirit. They will live on for eternity. It's kind of a weird concept. God was eternal in the past. He never had a beginning. But people do have a beginning. But we all will live forever with the Lord. Even those that are condemned who never knew the Lord and they reject Him, they'll live forever too, but separated from God. That's a sad reality. I talked about that in the last episode review. Check that out because it's a really important concept we need to remember. There is such a thing as a judgment. Now, the judgment that Arthur Harrow and Amit want to bring is not a godly type of judgment. Nevertheless, it is true that what we see around us is real, but it's less real than the spiritual world, if it can be said that way. Now, Gnosticism is a religion that says that the only thing that matters, the only thing that's real, is the spiritual. Everything else is an illusion. Now, I'm not proclaiming that. That's not a biblical or a Christian worldview at all. But if we remember that first and foremost, we're spiritual beings, there's a bigger concept than just what we can see. There's a bigger reality going on around us than what we can sense with our five senses. So, we're instructed to walk by faith, not by sight. We're instructed to look at the world and to set our mind on things above and to see from a heavenly perspective, not just to look at the immediate things that surround us, and definitely not to put our heart into those material things. We're instructed to build up treasures in heaven that are, actual treasures. They're real things. They're tangible things, but they're spiritual things. They're not the gold or the paper money that we can get here. They're not the acclaim that you can get on social media. They're not the rewards or the accolades or the job promotion or whatever that we think is so important in this material life. The body needs food and water and air to survive, but there's something so much deeper. We need the Lord to survive. If we treat God like He's even more real and more necessary than the material comforts and necessities around us, then we're going to have a much better perspective on life. When we go through ups and downs, we won't be shaken. When we have a lack of the material things we think we want and need, especially here in America, we're so materialistic. We have so many blessings and we take them all for granted. But if we'll step back from that and look at things as if we're spiritual beings first, we're living in a material world, and that's good. God created the material world, but that material world is fallen. That material world is cursed. It's under the oppression of sin. And one day Jesus will return and transform everything, but it'll be this material world just brought back to the state it was always meant to be, like in the Garden of Eden. A perfected physical reality that's completely merged with the spiritual. That's something to look forward to, and I'd love for you to check out my video on the resurrection, since we did just come out of Easter, and the Resurrection Sunday. So check that out. It's all about the resurrection reality, the millennium, living in a material physical world, but fully integrated with the spiritual when Jesus returns to correct all things. Like I said, I really value your subscription. It means the world to me. I work hard on these videos, and I think I've brought a little bit of value as we discuss the deeper topics and the themes that are in shows like Moon Knight, and I want to hear your opinion. That's what this is all about. Let me know in the comments below some of the things I might have missed. Maybe something I overlooked, or a theme that you saw, and maybe the Lord spoke to you, or something profound that you thought the show was able to exhibit. This is Bruce on Spirit Life.